yo, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's good, everybody? What's good? It's the one and only, your man, your boy, Alpha, the first one. Yes, it's me. Yes, I did it. I'm hearing a lot of people talking like me. Oh, yeah, that word regulation is starting to get around. Shout out to the night shift. Shout out to them boys on overtime. Shout out to the women on the night wards, the ICUs. I will never forget about you. Y'all should know that. No matter how big I get, no matter how small I stay, I do this for you, for the people who make the countries run. This is worldwide, by the way. Shout out to Sri Lanka. Shout out to people in Southeast Asia. Shout out to them people south of the border, as they call it. Shout out to Mexico. It's getting hot down there. Y'all got my deepest sympathy because y'all don't have any leadership. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have any leadership. Shout out to everybody in South America. Shout out to, I think it's Argentina. Is that it? The guy who had the chainsaw. The president with the chainsaw. He got the economy on fire down there. Shout out to him. I think his name is President Milo. I can't say his name, but shout out to him. It's me, Alpha the First One. The YouTube page is E-Ways Dating Tips by A11 or E-Ways Dating Tips by Alpha or just E-Ways Dating Tips. And y'all know how to find me on all the other platforms. I got the D2 one coming up and the Odyssey one coming soon. I just had to get the 3 primary ones going first. But shout out to Odyssey and D2. I'm coming for you, baby. I'm coming. All right. And so tonight we're going to talk about something that's really funny. It's interesting. It's a positive subject. And as y'all know, I like to keep things funny because we're talking about what? Dating and mating. Serious business, but I try to put some fun to it because, you know, a lot of people getting bad deals. And so one of the reasons why they're getting bad deals is because they don't understand the sexual agency paradigm. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. The sexual agency paradigm. That's exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. So let me get right on into it. See, if y'all didn't know, recently there was like this singles event. I don't know, it was somewhere in one of those big cities, and there was also a church singles event. There was basically 2 types of singles events. And if y'all didn't know, I'm telling you now, my position on singles events, single mixers, or any kind of way they call it, where they get a bunch of people in there to date and mate, speed dating, right? In my opinion, those are horror shows. They are used car sales. I'm sorry. I got to say it up front. Y'all know me. I do what? I keep it raw, rough, and real. I'm always going to do that. And essentially, the women, once again, our lovely women, you know I love you ladies. Our lovely women are complaining about what? We don't have enough men. We don't have enough men and we don't have any men. None coming to these events. I mean, I'm hearing cases like that. We got multiple cases of events where men ain't even showing up. They're not even coming. Right? And the men that, now I want you to pay attention to this. I'm going to get into this, but let me keep going because I'm going to get into this one. And not enough men showing up. No men showing up. And this last one is the one that kind of ticked me off. We don't like the men that are showing up. Yeah, this is the sexual agency problem. This is it right here. That last one is the one prompt me to do this video. I seen this one lady said, And it could be rage bait. Y'all know I talked about rage bait. I talked about the be careful of the trauma bonding. Go check that video out where there's a lot of people trying to trauma bond with men and women. And that's what the dating apps are doing. They're playing on your emotions. That's why I did a video said get off the dating apps. You should be off the dating apps. And essentially that's what these singles events are. There's one guy, he broke this down where he showed that shout out to a YouTuber called a peaceful life. Shout out to that brother. He's another big man like myself. He's 6'5", I think, or no, he's 6'7". I'm 6'6", so he's a little taller than me, about an inch. But shout out to that brother, A Peaceful Life. That brother doing good work over there. Check out his channel. But I seen this on his channel. And shout out to another YouTuber called Axe an Old Man. I think the guy name is Paul Walker. Shout out to that YouTuber. He's doing a great job. And shout out to another YouTuber called Men Need to Be Heard. Yes, these are 3 YouTubers I'm giving them credit for. Props. Once again, I can't sign off on everything they do, but I will give credit where credit is due. But I've seen these stories about singles event from all 3 of these YouTubers. I've seen it from all 3 of them. Alright, so check out a guy called Men Need to Be Heard. That's a YouTube channel. Check out a guy called Axe an Older Man. And check out a YouTube channel called A Peaceful Life. I support all 3 of them. They're putting out very good content. It's nice and balanced. It's not too negative and it's not too positive. Alright, and remember on this channel I like it raw, rough, and real. So I don't care for people who put out all negative, and I don't care for people who put out all positive. I just want you to put out the balanced, real, raw, rough, and real truth. That's it. If it comes off as negative, oh well. But if it's raw, rough, and real, so be it. If it comes off as positive, oh well, raw, rough, and real, so be it. So those guys are putting out a balanced message, and I support that. But I seen on A Peaceful Life channel, he had this one guy who broke down how now single mixers or singles events or single dating events or speed events, that's now the new corporate way of getting that money out of women. He broke that shit down. And I said it makes sense. I broke down how dating apps are making money off people. We already know that. They're doing it with the psychological emotionalism. But now he broke that thing down where they're holding singles mixers at grocery stores. Or they're holding them close to grocery store so that when the line is long and the women get frustrated, they go inside the grocery store and they do what's called panic buying. Emotional panic buying. Frustration panic buying. It's just another way to get that money. So you got women at a singles event and they're already in an emotional state because they're looking for a man. And I understand. That's why they keep saying, we're all the good men. And so corporate America is now doubling back on them. They're like, oh, okay, we get it. Y'all tired of the dating app because a lot of women are leaving dating apps and they don't make women pay for dating apps. As far as I know, I think Bumble or Hint, one of those women one makes them do, but they getting off that app. And the women are now frustrated that when they go to nightclubs, the men don't want to buy them drinks. So the nightclubs are starting to charge women, which I've been predicted that. Because now they're saying all these women coming in here and these men ain't buying drinks. So the men are coming in here, but they're not giving y'all drinks because they know what y'all going to do. Y'all going to get them drinks and go find a guy like Alpha the first one. And I'm not buying you nothing. So the clubs ain't got hip to that, so now they charging everybody. Right? And so now the singles event is another way to get that money out of you. We're going to hold this singles event at a place where it's going to be kind of, we're going to make it very long. It's going to be more women, less men. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to run inside to the nearest Starbucks or the nearest Ralph's or the nearest Kroger or Albertson. You're going to do some panic shopping because you're frustrated. You're going to buy that bottle of wine, Boom, we got you on the backdrop. We got you on the backdrop for the singles event. That's what's going on. And so everybody's asking that question, where are all the good men? Why are men not showing up to singles events? Why are men, I'm even hearing this, why are men doing this to us? I heard some woman say that. Why are men doing this to us? Why can't these men get over it? I heard one woman saying that. Why can't men get over it? Oh, yeah. These men are angry. They need to get out of their houses, get out of them basements, get out of whatever they're doing, and just get over it and go to these events and meet all these beautiful single women. Okay? Now, you know that's rage bait if I ever heard some. Well, the one thing that I found that was interesting out of all this singles events complaint was that I seen one woman. Now that was interesting too. The woman who was trying to yell at men to come, but the one that I really found that was really really fascinating, interesting, humorous, and rage. I'll give you it does it all. Is the woman that said she was talking about how she went to the event and she said there wasn't enough men at the event. And she said there was no men at the event. But she seen men there. Now I'm going to rewind what I just said. She said there was not enough men there. Right? So she said there was not enough men there. She said there was no men there. No men. And she said the men that was there, she didn't like them. Shout out to a YouTuber called Whole Math. Whole Math. Shout out to him. I'll give him credit for this. He has a very famous picture, a drawing called the Not People Zone. Shout out to him. And I think that sums up the situation. That got me interested. I was interested when she said that because I was like, so you said there's not enough men there. There was no men there, and the men that was there, I didn't like them. She didn't even see the men who were there as human fucking beings. They were beyond just being a man. They were not even human fucking beings. Do you get that? That's what ticked me off. I was like, damn. At least you can say there was some men there, but I just was not attracted to those men. That statement would have at least validated that there were human beings there called men. You're acknowledging that there are men, and you're just being honest enough to say, I'm not attracted to them. She didn't do that. She was going on and on about these men, how they were ugly, how they were bald, they were fat, they were goofy looking. They were the kind of men that I would never even consider. She was talking about how some of them, how they had the audacity to even talk to her. This is a singles event. This is an event being held for you. Not for men, it's being held for women. Because at these events, guess what? The women had to pay. Yes. They had to pay to get into these events. The people, the promoters, or I'm not sure if it was dating coaches or counselors or whoever. I know one of them was a church. They told the women, we're willing to help you, but you got to sponsor this. So the women paid. And you didn't even have the common decency and courtesy to even call them men. No men was there. That's what she said. No men was there. Do you hear that? Not enough was there, and no men was there. None. She didn't even acknowledge their existence. I found that fascinating. It told me that we are at the point in this society, in our current unregulated dating and mating system. There's no rules and regulation to where women are finally forced to understand men's sexual agency. They gotta do it. And they are forced to accept the consequences of their agency. That's why I call it the sexual agency paradigm. Boom! They got to understand men's sexual agency, and now they have to understand the consequences of their agency. This is a paradigm that we've never seen in our current society. We've never seen this. We have women asking questions, where are the men? We have women paying for events to get access to the men. And the men that show up, they still don't even acknowledge those men as men. Totally disconnected from men's sexual agency. They have no clue on what the hell is going on. See, I wrote a book about dating and mating as a system. I wrote a philosophical thesis, basically, or a dissertation, about two competing systems in the world right now, much like capitalism versus communism. We have unregulated dating and mating, which is what we're under. I call that system GPS. Unregulated. GPS unregulated. No rules, no regulation. Total free sexual agency. For who? Both men and women. Then we have regulated dating and mating. I call that SPG. SPG, regulated dating and mating, is all the countries that are not Western influence. They're outside of the Western world. Most of those are going to be Southeast Asia, the Middle East, or quote unquote North Africa, however you want to call it, and South America and the continent. That's what I wrote my book about. And in regulated SPG, regulated, there's rules and regulation. There's upfront. They don't let you have complete, total sexual agency. They do not. You have a little bit of it. You do have a little bit of it. I mean, they're not legalizing grape or nothing like that. I'm not saying that. But they don't let women, as I keep saying it, they don't allow those women to make the mess. They don't do that. They give them a short amount of time to make a decision. They might put 2, maybe 3 men in front of them. And in some cases, they only put one. That's those real strict ones. It is what it is. And they telling them, hey, here it is. Here's your 2 or 3 guys. Make your choice now. 18, you better be making that choice. 19, all right. They don't let them go out there and do all that stuff. They tell them up front, this is what got to happen. Why? Because they don't want to be in the situation we're in. This this is the situation we're in. We have women asking, where are all the good men? Where are all the men? Period. Damn, just good. They saying ain't no men showing up. The reason why is because men have sexual agency. And you are experiencing the results of your agency. Sexual agency. That's the paradigm. We are in an unregulated system. You're going to constantly hear me say that. Look, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I got to tell y'all the truth. I have a degree in philosophy. Y'all know this. And guess what? I think I'm going to follow the same tradition that most philosophers follow in terms of dating and mating. Which is what? Philosophers, poets, and artists, okay? Right? Not rap artists. We're talking about, people who make art, paintings or sculpture, right? And y'all know I'm showing you E-Waste art. That's E-Waste Alpha. That's E-Waste Joanna, okay? Or E-Waste Chad, E-Waste Stacy, or E-Waste Jack and E-Waste Jill. I like Jack and Jill. E-Waste Jack is on the left with that beard and his chain, and E-Waste Jill got that red lovely hair that we all love. That's E-Waste art. So I'm showing you E-Waste art. Okay? So that makes me an artist. Alright? I don't write poetry, but I do have some rap songs I want to put out. I don't think they'll get any play, but you know what I'm saying. And yes, I am a philosopher. And the tradition for those three groups of people is what? We don't get our fame until we die. Now, I'm not saying I'm doing self-deletion. I'm not dying of anything, thank God. I'm in perfectly good health. I mean, I'm working on my yard, so it's kicking my butt. But I'm just saying it's not going to happen. I don't think on this subject I'm going to get too much credit until I leave this planet. I think that's when people might say, I think I see what this guy is talking about. Because I've been on I've been over, I think I'm up to like 70 now, 70-something podcasts, where I've said the same thing over and over. Regulation is the solution. And I'm starting to hear it in mainstream media and places that are starting to say, have y'all thought about regulated dating and mating? I heard one guy say, we have a totally unregulated sexual dating market. I heard him say that. And I'm like, that pastor's been listening to me. I made that a central focus of my channel. Some people say culture. I'm not saying culture. Culture is what you do. Culture is what you do. Regulation is what you gotta do. See, culture is a choice. You can accept someone's culture or you cannot. Regulation is you gonna do it. You will do it, and that's that, because it's in law. So when I talk about the sexual agency paradigm and why all these women are saying, where are all the good men? I don't like the ones that show up. Hell, the ones that show up, I don't even see them as men. That tells me they have no idea about the concept of sexual agency. They don't give a shit. They don't understand the consequences of their agency, and they damn sure don't even know anything about man's agency, even if they acknowledge it at all. That's the paradigm that's going on. They're getting a real world crash course in sexual agency. And in the unregulated system, that's exactly what you got. In the regulated system, as I was saying before, they give you so much agency. They give you a little bit, but they don't let you make a mess. See, they're not holding Now don't get me wrong. If you look at the SPGs, regulated systems across the world, yes, they do singles events, but it's not the way we do it. They don't do it that way. Like in certain places in the quote unquote East European countries, right? A lot of those are SPGs, right? Kind of hybridized, but they have virgin markets. Absolutely. They have virgin bride markets. Not virgin grooms, virgin brides. I know that's going to piss off the equalists. Dating and mating, there's no equality in dating and mating. I make that very clear on this channel. Men and women are not the same. Men and women are different. Therefore, men and women are not equal. Period. Boom. So if you don't like what I just said, unsubscribe, leave. I'll see you later. Have a nice life. We're not equal. So this idea that if women got to be virgin brides, there needs to be virgin grooms to balance it out. No, we've never done that in society. And the religions that did try that, they always fail. There's something called the Puritan era. They tried that. It failed. The ecclesiastical era, they tried that. It failed. They tried that in certain Islamic sectors of Islam. That failed. And guess what? From an evolutionary standpoint, women prefer men who have what? Experience over men who do not. The same can't be said of men. See, that's what people don't get. That's what this equal nonsense going on. I'm going to do a video on that. They can't seem to understand and accept that what applies to women don't apply to men, and what apply to men don't apply to women. Women like men with experience. Men want women with less experience. Women don't have a problem with men who have a high body count. Men have a problem with women with high body counts. See what I'm saying? It's not always going to be. That's what I hate listening to male feminists and people who are equalists. I can't stand it. Because it's not logical. It just, at the end of the day, you're like, what the hell? This shit makes no sense. When I say something applies to women, I mean just that. There is no flip side to it applying to men unless I say that. Now, if something does apply to men, I'm going to say, yeah, men do this too. Or, yeah, that kind of applies to men too. I'll say that. I've been honest enough to say those things. So when I talk about the regulated systems and they regulate women's sexual behavior to being virgin brides and they don't require that to men, in a lot of those systems, that is true. They understand the sexual agency paradigm. They get it. They know when you give women free sexual agency, you end up where we are right now. That's the paradigm. That's the sexual agency paradigm. It's not going to be equal with men and women. See, this is another thing that people don't want to say, so I'm going to say it tonight. One of the good things, or bad thing, however you look at it, but one of the good things that came out of the sexual revolution is we now understand what women will do when they have total free sexual agency. Boom! We now understand what they will do. We have 70 years to prove and show people trends, behaviors, statistics, and outcomes on what women will do when you give them full, free, total sexual agency. We now understand it. You see the outcomes. I don't need to list them. I am an outcome of that. Love my parents to death. But I probably got made over a Crown Royal and a blunt. I ain't ashamed to say it. I am not ashamed to say it. Some of you got made over a Crown Royal and a blunt. And if you white, some of you got made at Woodstock. Definitely if you Gen X and a millennial. Gen Z, some of y'all got made at Coachella. Okay, some of y'all got made at Coachella, okay? Some of y'all got made at Girls Go Wild. You're all Freak Neek, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Freak Neek. Bring it back. The sexual agency paradigm. That's on full display right now. And see, those regulated societies, they're not dealing with that. Now, there is one country in East Europe where they literally don't have enough men to go around. Their population is very small in men. See? And as y'all know on this channel, I keep telling y'all the prize will always be what? The limiting gender. The limiting sex. Meaning whichever gender is the least of the population, that gender is the prize. But sometimes that can be different. And it depends. It depends. See, like the situation in China. They have more men than women, but the men are starting to regulate. They're starting to implement rules and regulation. So it's making what? The men more the prize. See, if there was no regulation, naturally speaking, women would be the prize in China because there's less women. I mean, that's that one child policy, which was an awful policy. Probably one of the worst public policy I've ever read of, the history of in my life. But now that the men are dealing with the women that they do have, and I've heard some horror stories about the Chinese women. Shout out to China, by the way. Those men are starting to regulate. They're saying, we about to regulate all this. We are about to shut all this down. And they're doing it little by little. They're saying, we're going to get this in line. So that's making the men more valuable now because they are regulating. You get it? They are putting in the rules and regulation. If they wasn't, I would just say the women are the prize because there's less women. And so the men are going to have to hustle to get a woman. But now that the men are regulating it, it's going to make the men the prize. The women are going to have to meet the terms that the men are dictating. That's just the way it goes. Yes, the men are limiting the women's sexual agency. And so that's the paradigm here, is that we now understand it's not misogynistic, it's not hateful, it's not bitterness, it's not resentfulness, it's not I-cell as they call it, Duracell men. It's not Duracell ideology, it's not pessimistic. Alright, it's not dark doom and gloom, it's just reality. The reality is we now know what women will do when you give them full free sexual agency. We now know that. See, it cracks me up when I listen to these psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors and dating coaches and advisors where they just can't say that. That's why I'm a philosopher. I study the theories and the beliefs of certain things. And when I look at it, this is what you get with women's sexual agency. What do you get, Alpha? What do you get? You get a bunch of women saying what? Where are all the good men? Where are all the men at? And for the ones that show up, I don't even see them as men. I'll say that again. For the men who take the time out of their day, who get dressed and put on some cologne and get nice and duty up, as they say. Put on your best outfit. Show up to this singles event. Those women don't even see them as men. The sexual agency paradigm is on full display. They don't understand what their agency has created And they have no idea about men's sexual agency at all. Yes, ladies, men have sexual agency. When you fought for the sexual revolution, you fought for your agency, and I did a video on this called what? You let men off the hook. When you said, I don't want no more rules and regulations, I'm tired of this. I'm sick of this. I don't want to be regulated to be a virgin bride. I don't want to do shotgun weddings. I don't want my father and my mother and my pastor picking my mate. I want to do that all on my own. Okay, you got it. We taking off the rules and regulations. We taking them off for you, and we taking it off for him. Now a lot of women saying, what? What do you mean you're taking them off for him? He got to be ready to clean up the mess. Hey, wait a minute now. We want traditional men. Heard that word? We want a good traditional man. We want a man that's an empath. I hate that fucking word. Empath. Emotional intelligence, which is complete crap. I'm saying that right now. That's the most irrational, illogical ideology I've ever heard about. Think about it. How the fuck are you going to build a philosophy off of emotions? Emotions are irrational in nature. My emotions change throughout the whole day. I wake up, I might be in a great mood. By the time I lay down at night, I might be in a fit of rage. Wake up the next day, I might be bored. Emotions come and go. How you going to have someone trying to be intelligent based on their emotions? That's ridiculous. That's not sound and it's not logical. Look that up. You can look all this stuff up. There's been several philosophers, multiple philosophers, that have written extensively against the concept of emotional intelligence. Essentially, emotional intelligence is a cope for women. What kind of women? Leftover women in the market. And it's used by what? Men who have what? Lower sexual market value. It is what it is. The man who's selling, oh, I'm such a high emotionally intelligent man, that's his way of trying to get them draws. That's all he doing. Instead of throwing weights, instead of getting himself together, instead of putting himself in shape, you know what I'm saying? Keeping himself looking right, tight, right. Instead of himself going out and accomplishing things, he sells the woman on an idea that he's the most equalist and most emotionally intelligent man in the room. That's what he does with what? His agency. And then the woman friend zone him. Now she friend zone him, expressing and empowering what? Her agency. See how it goes? No rules and regulations. And these singles events is only the beginning. It's only the beginning. See, we're not at the end of the sexual revolution. We're in the second phase. Check out my video where I talked about the second phase of the sexual revolution will be for all men, not just the small few that women liked. See, that's what they're upset about. And I talked about this. The cleanup men have left the building. The women are upset that all men are starting to understand their sexual agency. See, they was okay with Alpha the First One. All right, they was okay with that guy. Hey, we like the fact that alpha understands his agency. We're okay with alpha, pumping and dumping me, because that's what I did. I come to y'all as an honest man that do it. Pump and dump is justice. Check out my video. And they're okay with alpha doing it, but they don't want all those other men doing it. No, we don't like that. Why? Because that takes away the cleanup men. See how honest I am about what I'm telling y'all? I'm literally telling y'all something that may fall back to hurt me. See, this came before me, by the way. The manosphere and the red pill, those spaces have already educated the men on not being cleanup men. So this is not my making. I'm just expressing what's going on as a philosopher. And what I see what's going on is the cleanup men, they have decided to give up that ideology, and they're enforcing and empowering their agency. So the women are upset because they're like, well, wait a minute. I'm okay with Alpha the First One not being a cleanup man. I'm okay with that because I want to have hot sex with him when I'm 18 to 25. But once I get about 27 and older, I'll keep Alpha on the side. But I need to get that need. I need to get those needs, that buck side of the game. So I need a large population of men who are quote unquote ready to do what? Suppress their sexual agency. I'm going to say that again. Suppress their sexual agency to support my agency. And when they do that, they will be cleanup men. Boom. And that dynamic went on for 70 years. Now it's coming to an end. Let me say it again, because some of y'all are going to say, man, that was heavy. What women need to do in order to keep this train wreck going, that's now crashing, by the way, is they needed enough men, a large population of men, who would suppress their sexual agency in order to fulfill their agency. And those men would suppress their agency and they would become cleanup men. What do cleanup men do? They marry single mothers. What do cleanup men do? They volunteer to be stepfathers. What do single men do? When they marry the woman, they clean up the woman's credit. Somebody got to pay off them student loans, payday loans, and Visa and MasterCard. See? What do these cleanup men do? They suppress their agency by cleaning up the mess, right? And allowing the woman to continue on with her agency. The sexual agency paradigm. That's what you're witnessing right now. One group doesn't understand the outcomes of their agency because these are the results of women's sexual agency. I wrote the book, which is what? There's no rules and regulation. See? I really want y'all to get that concept down because it's fascinating to study it. Boy, but it's horrible if you don't understand it. Look, y'all, I'm not a doomer, but I'm just going to say this. This is not the end. This is the beginning. This is becoming the standard status quo. More and more men are going to do what? Reject being cleanup men. They're going to empower their sexual agency. And more women are going to face the consequences of their sexual agency. That's the paradigm. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I wrote this in the book, how I put a section in the book that talks about how both systems, when you're going from one to the other, there's a hybridization period. There's a hybrid period that exists where you can have a regulated society, a rules and regulation, a SPG that's starting to get weak, and you'll see certain GPS things popping up. And vice versa, you'll see an unregulated society, unregulated GPS, no rules and regulation, but you'll see certain things popping up that looks like an SPG. This is one of them. See, the GPS, no regulation, it needs men to do what? Take the bad deal. It needs those men to take that bad deal. That bad deal can be accepting a single mother, marrying a woman who used to be a sex worker, or marrying a woman that's at the end of her sexual market value, which is what, around about 30 years old and older, 27 and older. Those are the bad deal situations. And that's what a lot of men now understand, and they're rejecting that deal. They're rejecting the bad deal. So these singles events are only symptoms of the big problem. And I told y'all what? The problem is the solution. The big problem is what? There's no regulation. And the solution is regulation. But nobody wants to do it, so that's why it's the problem. It's reciprocal. You're just going to keep going back to it. It's not going to change. That's the sexual agency paradigm that we are dealing with as a society. How do we get better outcomes? How do we change the dynamics? Right? How do we answer this question, we're all the good men, and still allow women to have full freedom and sexual agency? That's the problem. Because the men are now empowering their agency. They're not going back in the box. I'm sorry, the men ain't doing that. More and more men are waking up every day. And I talked about this. The number one supporter of the red pill and manosphere will be women. Why? Because they can't help themselves. They're too far gone. Totally disconnected from the reality of what they created. That's not gender blaming. That's a historical fact. Women led and created and pushed, and still to this day, the sexual revolution. Before the sexual revolution, we had rules and regulation. After the sexual revolution, we got no rules and regulation. This is what women fought for. And so now these results are directly tied to what women do with their sexual agency. This is only the beginning. That's the paradigm. We got to understand this. It's a very good subject. I find it fascinating. It's not negative. It's not positive. It's something that you should be looking up and researching on. And here's a really brain tickler if you want one. Look up what society lasted on this planet prior to United States, and I would say prior to the United Kingdom, because that's the West. Look up what country in history survived and they allow women to have free total sexual agency. Look that up. I've already done it, but I want you to do some homework on that. I can give you a hint. Most of them ain't around. Most of those countries didn't make it because they understand. And now the ones you see now, the ones that's older than us, they understand women's sexual agency. They already got it. They know exactly what comes when you give them full free sexual agency. We got people writing articles about it and researching chi-squares and trying to no. At the end of the day, the women have sexual agency, and the results you're seeing right now is a direct product of that agency. Am I putting it all on the women? Absolutely, I got to do it. I'm not running from this concept. I'm a triple down on it. This is what you get when you take rules and regulation off of women's sexual agency. And I'll wrap it up with this. See, this is the truth, and this is a brutal truth. The truth of the matter is this. I think there's a saying that men will sacrifice their happiness to save their family. Whereas with women, they will sacrifice their family to get their happiness. If we translate that, essentially men are willing to suppress their sexual agency to save society. Women are willing to destroy society to not have their sexual agency suppressed. That's the paradigm. That's the sexual agency paradigm that we're witnessing right now. It's fascinating. It is. Don't be angry about it and don't laugh about it. There's a lot of guys, yay, we got him, we got him. No. It's funny. Don't get me wrong. It's funny. But you got to go deeper than laughs, and you got to go deeper than being sad. You need to understand this. You need to understand that this is going to happen. So that when women say, where are all the good men? You tell them, all the good men are gone because of your sexual agency. That's why you don't see any good men. Your sexual agency led to this situation. And the men are not going to suppress theirs anymore to embrace yours. That's the sexual agency paradigm that I want to tell y'all tonight. Understand that this is what comes when you have women who are empowering their sexual agency and they can't accept the outcomes, and men are empowering their sexual agency so they don't have to clean up the mess that comes from women's sexual agency. All right, y'all, that's been it for tonight. Shout out to the night shift crew. Shout out to the people on overtime. Shout out to them cooks who got to do the prep work. I see you. Sometimes I be driving around at night and I see you in them kitchens doing what you got to do. Make that money. Don't let it make you. Shout out to all the trolls out there. And to everybody else. And the haters. Peace.